Okay, welcome to Tea in Transit, Monday, November 20, 9:10 a.m. on Maui. And it's been a rainy day here on Maui, at least so far. We've got the sun in gate 14.4, so we're already pretty deep into this one. And the earth in gate 8.4. I'm not necessarily going to play catch up on this one. I did just want to start to get into a rhythm with it again. So let's go 14.4. So we have gate 14, possession in great measure, power skills. The accumulation and retention of power through skilled interaction, coupling grace with control. For line 4, we have security, and currently it's locked in detriment. Why is that? We have Venus is also in gate 14, which is why it's locked in detriment. So we have security, the concentration on establishing a strong foundation. So detriment, so this is what the transit energy is right now. It's overconfidence in meeting the challenge of competition that may threaten the very basis of security. Without the proper skills, the inability to guarantee security. Pretty straightforward. Again, detriment and exaltation, they're like two sides of a coin. And if you have, for instance, a detriment in your natal chart, right? Like, for instance, if this was in your chart, detriment of line 4, overconfidence in meeting the challenge of competition that may threaten the very basis of security. That's only a bad thing if you're not aware of it, right? It's only a bad thing if you're not aware, like, oh, I'm typically going to be overconfident in situations, maybe without the skills, because the flip side of that is protection from assault. The key to power lies in developing skills to ensure a strong foundation. So this is about, again, the skill that provides protection, which I say this a lot, which is the bird is safe on the branch not because of the strength of the branch, but because of the strength of their wings. And this is something that, I see a lot in the world of people looking to find strong branches to sit on rather than strengthening their wings. And same thing with human design. They're looking for justifications of who they are, why they are the way they are, rather than using it as a technique or an opportunity to strengthen themselves so that they don't have to rely on strong branches. And what I tend to find is that those people who spend the time to strengthen their skills, to strengthen themselves, they often find stronger branches to sit on. So anyway, again, if you have the detriment, it's not a bad thing. It's only bad if you're not aware of it, because having the awareness of like, oh, I might be overconfident in certain things. I have 14.4 in detriment in my chart. That's a great thing to know about yourself. So then when you feel the urge to do something, considering, hey, okay, maybe do I need more skills to do this safely? Oh no, that's just my 14.4 in detriment. So, oh yeah, definitely it just went through something and I was realizing that I was looking for a strong branch somewhere and not trying to use this as an opportunity for growth, right? And that's something that, sometimes pain is the teacher, right? Especially for us third lines, pain is very often the teacher. And once you learn the lesson, right? Forget your insecurities. Yeah, there isn't any shame in being weak. The shame is in staying weak. I was just about to say that. That's so great. The shame is in not recognizing your weaknesses and not adapting, because for every weakness, right, there's a strength to be revealed, and there's also a context. Like something really weak, like something really heavy, for instance, is weak on a branch. Something really light and not heavy is really strong on a branch. And so everything has its context where if you change the environment of the thing, oftentimes or sometimes the utility or the usefulness of the thing will shift. So with that being said, let's move on to gate 8. And actually, no, let's stay here for a second. So 214 is called the beat. It's part of the individual channel. If you can think of it, it's like one story up from the 630 or 6030, which is all about like limitations and the pulse of mutation. This is the ability to take that mutation and then transfer it into a greater identity, or achieve some kind of love and direction through channeling that mutation or that individualness through gate 14, developing the skills, right, into gate 2, which is like vision, basically, or direction. The director, it's the identity that's like directing things. And so you got power skills, and you've got the direction. That's the beat, right? It's like someone that can like dance to the beat of their own drum is what I kind of like visualize it as. It's like that person who is dancing alone, and they're just like fully in it, that ultimately kind of rallies other people to it. And again, this is part of that individual channel. Ori's got the 214. Who else has got the 214? It's a very important channel, especially for businesses. Businesses without the 214 are very likely always going to be strapped for cash, or not necessarily know which direction they're heading in. They might be like too much of the vision, not necessarily a specific vision. And you see that a lot. You see that a lot. And so, like, for instance, as myself, one of the things that I struggle with is I have a lot of skills, but I don't necessarily know when to double down. I was thinking actually this morning about TikTok and how much TikTok has changed and how much everything has changed. And for me, it's the missed opportunities to repeat and repeat and repeat. Like, one of the things that actually got me pretty high up there in TikTok in terms of followers was these like didgeridoo videos and these like surprise brr. And I had one video that almost got like a million likes. Oh no, that was a different video, but quite a few, quite a lot of engagement. And I didn't necessarily capitalize on that while TikTok was still in its stage. And so that's something that again, lessons that I'm learning. And it's not something that I'm really going to be shaming myself for, because again, I don't necessarily have the 2 in my chart. Obviously, I don't have the 2 in my chart, and so my lack of vision personally for myself is not something that I am looking at as a flaw in myself, so much as, well, what was I paying attention to? What visions was I crafting? It was visions for my family, visions for what we were doing at the time, which was starting up a nonprofit and getting hands in the dirt on farms, our friends' farms. And so it's again just one of those learning lessons. Luckily, it's like, I had my strong wings, so when the branch broke, and in this case the branch breaking was like TikTok kind of shifting their algorithm, and also me losing my hut, I was able to just find another branch to rest on. And so it's been a how you say, I mentioned, someone asked the other day, and I made a video about the sorry, I did some gecko poop off my desk, about the like the undefined G, and like what it's like to have the undefined G. And my short answer was, like, I've stopped asking the question, who am I, as though there's supposed to be a finite answer, because for me there's not, and it's totally true. And so not having the 2 in there is like, which direction am I going? That is not something that I'm necessarily super confident in. Which direction are we going? Which direction are you going? I can see that super clear, but which direction am I going? That's a little bit more elusive to me. So this is part of both of these gates that are in transit right now, are a part of individual circuitry. So yay, melancholy. All right, let's go to gate 8. Dragon says, I miss those videos popping up. They always worked. Kind of hard to pin down. An ever-evolving organism is one thing or another. True that. And that's one of the reasons why the didgeridoo does work, because what I would do, and I will start doing more of them, because I realized as one of the ways that I actually pigeonhole myself, and one of the ways that I define my own G in order to get love and direction, is like what I'm doing with human design, where I'm like, oh, I just do human design. And lately, these past week or two, especially with the hut getting destroyed, I realized, like, oh, I'm into Reiki, I'm into music, I'm getting into farming. There's a lot of other things that I'm really into that I'm not necessarily allowing as much stage time as human design. And so that's one of my end of the year kind of explorations, is like, how can I start to weave in more of my Reiki, more of my music, more of the farming, and more of the biomechanics, which for anyone that saw the video yesterday, I got more of those coming, into what I am doing, because human design is like the tip of my spear, but the pole that's holding the tip of my spear is Reiki, biomechanics, music, and yeah. So anyway, let's go to gate 8.4. So gate 8 we have in the throat, connects to gate 1 in the G center, holding together contribution. The basic worth realized in contributing individual efforts to group goals. Line 4 is respect. The gift of naturally recognizing the contributions of others, and particularly the acknowledgement of those who lead by example. So Jupiter in exaltation, we have the uncompromising drive to assimilate, the drive to contribute and be an example for others. Detriment is, in a group where limitation is transcended, reason alone cannot predict individual worth. As an example, the acknowledged leader of an athletic team is not necessarily the most talented, a gift for contribution that is not conditioned by limitations. Interesting. So this is like, I think about wolves a lot, because there was this meme that went around of like wolves traveling, and it was like a lot of people think the wolf leader is at the front, but he's actually at the back. And that turned out to be like a whole like sham. People were like using it in their, for motivational quotes and businesses and stuff like that. And turned out to be that someone had just posted that, and just to see if they could like trick the internet, basically. Because in a pack, right, like the person best suited for leading isn't always the strongest or the one with the most leadership. Like sometimes it's the meekest, or sometimes it's, the one with, the smartest, and not the brains, and not the brawn, or vice versa. And so it's important to have respect. Again, it's this gift of naturally recognizing the contributions of others, particularly acknowledging those who lead by example. And so recognizing the contribution of others, this is the person who can confidently say, like, oh, I think this person is supposed to lead, or I know that I'm supposed to lead, or I know that I'm not supposed to lead, right? Which we're kind of like dipping into 31 influence, dipping into some other gates. However, with the fourth line, we're talking about like community vibes, and how does everyone work together in this web of life? And with line 4 again, we have the ability of recognition, which is respect, right? I respect people who have skills that are more suitable for guidance than I currently have. Like prana, for instance. Prana is one that I typically look to for guidance in being the how do you say, in the best. So 8.4, this is not about being the best. There you go. See, exactly. This is not about being the best. This is about contribution and leading by example. Right? You got anything more for me, Prana? But when he gets on my TikTok lives, it's always really fun, and even in here too, it's always really fun to explore like what happens in my nervous system, because I don't have this one. I don't have this one in my chart. And so for me, right, it's not necessarily, I don't necessarily always know or respect those that are, how you say, making the contributions, or I don't necessarily know when I'm making the contribution. Like sometimes my undefined throat just wants to talk, and there's not necessarily anything like being contributed from it, or I've already contributed the thing, and therefore I don't necessarily know when to stop contributing, because again, there's the lack of that 8. And so, with this being, again, the keynote here is respect, right? Drive to contribute, to be an example for others, right? It's not a matter of comparison. Okay, that makes sense. I like that. Right, because it's the thing that's best suited, or most practical, or going to be most beneficial for the group, is for you to lead by example in being a follower, following the leader. And so that other people can get on the train and be like, oh yeah, that's the person that we're supposed to follow. So just looking at and still not really understanding this, I have 14.6 and 14.5 that is lit up, and I have one that's 2.2. All right, Kelly. So you have the 214. It means you just have extra weight on the 14 because you have 2 planets in those placements. Yeah. Cool. Well, any other questions? I'll hang out for a little bit. But I actually have no sessions today, which is strange for a Monday, but kind of refreshing at the same time. You know, again, since the hut incident, um, the patterns that I've had have been very different, very, very different. So if anyone's got a question or two, I'll go ahead and answer to the best of my ability. And if not, we can go ahead and end it here. I'll actually go ahead and end the recording.